is awesome.
Hey, Megan. Hey, Gina.
Hi.
Welcome to the channel. How are you
Thank
ladies
you.
doing?
How am I doing?
Yeah.
Well, we just had a wild horse show weekend. Twin Rivers was just this past weekend. So it was sort of our first competition of the year. So super fun to get started out competing for the year. And we had a couple people competing for the first time, trying eventing out for the first time. So that's always really fun.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Did you ride or just coach?
I did. I had 2 horses that I competed, and as well as coaching, we had my daughter is the president of the Cal Poly eventing team. So we had a couple of Cal Poly teams doing an intercollegiate competition, and yeah. So we had 9 horses. We had 9 horses competing.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's a busy weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Megan, we
So,
should probably
there's always
introduce Gina.
the aftermath of that, and we had a little car problem with my daughter's car on the way home, so we got to deal with that. So we're still dealing with that today. So
It's always something, isn't it? But
the list goes on and on and on and on. Yeah, the horse things, non-horse things, life things, always complicated.
It's all the things. So what we normally do here is I read a bio. So I am going to tell everybody about you.
Okay.
And we're gonna get this party started. So everyone who is watching, guess what? We are so excited. We have Gina Miles on the show today, and she won the Olympic individual silver medal in 3-day eventing in equestrian sport in 2008, becoming one of only 5 people who have won individual eventing medals in the last 40 years. Other accomplishments include numerous state national championships, gold and bronze medals at the Pan Am Games, Kentucky 5 times, Badminton, Burghley, World Equestrian Games, and Chronicle of the Horse overall in eventing. Horseman, but can I say Horsewoman of the Year?
Mm-hmm.
Gina operates a full-service equestrian business in Templeton, California called Gold Medal Equestrian, which offers training for all ages in 3-day eventing, show jumping, and dressage. She loves sharing her passion for riding and training with others and helping them fulfill their goals. She enjoys teaching riders at an introductory level to be safe and confident as much as riders with ambitions to reach the top levels of sport. Gina offers camps for youth and adults at her farm in California, as well as virtual introduction to make education accessible to all. I think that is amazing. How did you get this horse crazy bug? When did it start?
That is a great question because nobody in my family was horsey at all. So, I mean, unless you count, so my mom grew up in Chicago, like in the city of Chicago. And so she dreamed that she had the Black Stallion in her backyard. You know, she read the Black Stallion books. And so in her imagination, she had the imaginary Black Stallion living in her backyard, but that's as close to horses as my family was. So it's I don't know. I just started begging for lessons. You know, I would see horses on the side of the road when we were driving, and I loved the horses. I loved looking at the horses, and I just begged for riding lessons. And finally, I was 7. My mom found a riding school in our area in Davis, California, and found a little riding school. And I started taking weekly riding lessons on the school horses and never stopped. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I feel like I had the same thing growing up. Like, loved reading all the horse books. You know, we go on family trips. My face would be plastered to the window, looking for farms where there were horses and just staring at them as we drove by. So, what drew you to eventing?
Well, you know, the Olympics came to Los Angeles in 1984. So I was 10, and it's great because the Olympics is coming back to Los Angeles in 2028. But so my mom just thought it'd be cool to take me to the Olympics. She was reading about the different disciplines. Cross country sounded really cool. We weren't able to get very many tickets. We did get tickets to one of the like team dressage rounds. I don't know. I remember being at Santa Anita Park. I remember seeing the Foxfield riding drill team perform, you know, with 16 gray horses at Liberty, you know, or not Liberty, but you know, they bareback on the wire, all their tricks they do. And then she read about cross country. We didn't have tickets, but we went down to Fairbanks Ranch. She was able to pick up one ticket in the parking lot. And now she's like, great, I have a 10-year-old child and one ticket. And now what do we do? But she got another ticket at the entrance. And so we were in and we started walking around and seeing the horses galloping by on steeplechase. Obviously, we had roads and tracks and steeplechase still. Seeing the horses gallop by, walking along the ropes, seeing the horses galloping by, jump these massive jumps. I have pictures of my 10-year-old self that my mom took with pictures of cross-country jumps. I was hooked. I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I wanted to do it in 3-day eventing. So,
what do you think? You know, you mentioned it, so I want to ask this. What do you think of the elimination of the long form roads and tracks and all that? That extra portion of the endurance.
I mean, as diehard eventers, obviously that was a huge part of our sport. You know, the horsemanship required, the way you got to know your horse, the care, conditioning, vet care. I mean, all of that is really so much a part of what being an eventer is and training eventing horses. However, the other side of it, when you see these competitions on the international level, you see an Olympic Games, Pan Am Games, where they're being hosted in countries that don't have eventing. They don't have the land. They don't have the sport there, and it just isn't realistic to come up with the roads and tracks and the steeplechase on that international level. So unfortunately, just the reality of the way the world functions, it just didn't make sense for that to continue on at the top international level. I love that they still have it at like in California, I know we still do a 3-day event at Ramtap. Ramtap hosts a 3-day event. Rebecca Farm still hosts a 3-day event. And I would encourage anybody that likes riding horses and jumping horses and galloping to do a full phase 3-day event, because you learn so much about your horse and training and conditioning and veterinary.
Yeah, the amount of fitness the rider and the horses needed. And it's also changed. I feel like it's changed to some extent the type of horse that can be introduced into eventing. Because back in the day, with that amount of endurance, there would have been no way the warm bloods of that era would have been able to compete. It was all thoroughbreds, right? Some crosses.
Yeah, for sure. There's still a lot of and the modern warm blood breed has changed as well to have a lot more blood, a lot more thoroughbred. So a lot of people, and it is frustrating for me because thoroughbreds do get a bad rap, and so people won't even look at thoroughbreds anymore necessarily. And some of the thoroughbreds in my barn are lazier than the warm bloods. You know, I mean, because there's so much blood being bred into the warm bloods now. So you can have a full registered Holsteiner, Hanoverian, Zangerscheid, whatever, and it might have quite a lot of thoroughbred blood in it.
Out of all of your international competitions, what is the most memorable? What stands out to you?
Oh my goodness. Well, how do you even pick one? I mean, the Olympics is, you know, I think what was great about the Olympics was I had enough experience at that point of having done several other international competitions to really learn how to be in the competitive zone, you know, how to really cancel out the noise that comes with representing your country. You're at the Olympic Games. I mean, there's a lot of other pressures that come into the element, and it takes a bit of experience to get to the point where you can cancel out that noise and be able to really feel like you perform at your best. And my kids were there. My kids were old enough, so I have a lot of good memories with my kids being there, and so my whole family was there.
That's really special. Can you explain some of the pressures for someone who may not understand?
Yeah, I mean, it's you feel a tremendous responsibility. I mean, it's a huge team effort to get there for sure. It's not just you, it's not just your horse. A lot of people put together fundraisers, helped with my kids, helped with the horses, helped with the farm. I mean, there's a lot of collaboration in the whole team that gets you there. So you feel a lot of responsibility for all the people. It's not just a, one woman, one horse show. I mean, you have a big team behind you and you feel a lot of pressure and responsibility to deliver the performance that everybody's hoping that you can. And then there's a lot of hype. You get geared up in your Team USA gear. You go through the line and you're wearing all the Olympic gear, and your whole life you've watched the Olympics on TV. You understand how special it is. That Olympic fanfare comes on, you get choked up, and now all of a sudden you're like living this fantasy. You're living a dream. You've stepped into your own movie and you're in it. And that can really, I think it did sort of blow me out at the Pan American Games, because I did the Pan American Games the year before the Olympics. And the pressure, the pressure of wanting to get all 10s in your dressage test, just push for the best, the best, the best, the best, the best. But you can only do your own personal best. You can't magically, if that horse on a good day has a 6 flying change, tomorrow he's not going to have a 10 flying change. And, you get all ramped up trying to make that horse be a 10. And horses are sensitive, right? Like, horses pick up on that pressure and that energy, and that they're just trying to go be a horse, and now all of a sudden they feel this energy from you that's different, and it can freak them out. And it did. So instead of having a very good dressage test at the Pan Am Games, we had a terrible dressage test, so we had a lot to come back from.
Can you talk to us about your horse? Tell us all about him.
Oh, McKinley. Yes. So McKinley, I was actually, my ex-husband and I were ranch managers for Tom Schultz and Laura Coates. And they had purchased McKinley in Ireland. Tom was looking to replace his Irish horse. He had an Irish sport horse that he had competed himself that had been retired. And they found McKinley in Ireland and had decided to leave him there in Ireland for a year. And we were having a ranch meeting, and I talked about, I think we'd worked for them about a year, and I talked about how I wanted to continue my aspirations to make the team, to ride for the US and go to the Olympics. And I just wanted to make sure my work job was structured in a way that I still had some time, I could carve out some time to do that, was basically the purpose of our conversation. And they just said, we have no idea that you wanted to do that. We didn't know that you wanted to ride for the United States. We didn't know you wanted to go to the Olympics. And we'll bring McKinley home from Ireland for you to ride. It was like, okay, wow, okay, that sounds fantastic. And McKinley arrived, and he was 17.3, and I'm 5'3". And I put one foot in the stirrup to mount him, and he bolted, which he continued to do for the entire first year. I owned him at the horse shows. I would have to get on him in the stall and be let out of the stall at the horse shows. So he was a little quirky. He had a few little quirks. He hated needles. He hated his ears being touched. He hated being clipped. But he loved to jump. And from the beginning, he understood everything about jumping. I worked with Brian Sabo. Brian Sabo was really who helped me develop McKinley from the very beginning. And Brian was instrumental in that process. And he would build these combinations, cross-country combinations for him, and McKinley would just figure it out instantly. I mean, he had a sixth sense for figuring puzzles out, like cross-country puzzles. But his dressage was difficult for his entire career. I mean, he was big. He didn't have very good conformation for dressage at all. And so we spent a lot of time over the years improving his dressage and working on his dressage and travel. I lived in Germany. I trained in Germany. We did a lot of work with the dressage, but and personality wise, He was very shy with new people. Like, he definitely wasn't a horse that would just come to the front of the stall, say hi, be friendly. He would, a new person, if a new person came, he would go to the back of the stall. He wasn't super social. But with his people, he knew he was very, friendly and comfortable and confident with. But he was a bit standoffish, I have to say, with newcomers.
He sounds like he was particular.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was kind of an introvert, definitely an introvert. It takes a little while to get to know him, not super gregarious, but a bottomless work ethic. I mean, he would work. There was no end to his work ethic. He for sure would just keep going and do everything for as long as you needed him to.
Can we quickly talk about what it's like to try out for the team?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it is. I mean, each discipline is a little bit different. So I can only really speak to the eventing side. But they have high performance lists. And so once you make it to, and the star systems have changed, but so back then it was 3-star, which is now 4-star. So sort of once you have a decent showing at a 4-star, the selectors are usually there at the 4-star competitions watching. So if you have a good performance at a 4-star competition, somebody probably noticed. And that's what's going to get you put on one of the watch lists or one of the lists. And then that it gets you, and they've changed the names over the years of what they call them. But then you basically are you're selected, and then you start to be able to go to training sessions. So you get selected, you get to start to participate in training sessions. And then that's when you start getting into the fold. You start getting the information about when the qualifying competitions are, what you need to do, where the applications are, coaching opportunities. You get informed of what the qualifications are for this competition, that competition. So you really get into the fold. So the ticket is just get yourself to that 4-star level, and then and they have more pathways now than they did back then. They have a great EA 21 program now, where young riders that are under 21 can apply and start to get into a pathway program earlier on. And so those are all, there's always notifications about those coming out on the USEA website. The USEA website has great information about those pathway programs for those younger riders.
And can you talk about what it was like when you realized you won the silver medal? Like, what does that feel like? Like,
yeah.
wow.
It's pretty special. For me, it was so much of feeling the support of everybody back home. You're standing on the podium, you're watching the flag go up, you have the medal around your neck. And I just thought of all the people that helped get us there. I really felt like each and every person, supporter, friend, relative, people that had donated and given money and helped us get there, the vets, the farriers, the chiropractors, all that. Like, for me, it felt like a team effort. For me, it felt like all of those people were there with me. And it's a tremendous amount of pride and sense of community, and the fact that you have included all these people on this journey. And I'm going to tear up even just thinking about it. Like, you've gone on this journey together with all these people, and you set out a goal, and there you are. It's a lot of pride for all of that. And it's just, yeah, it's incredible as incredible as you can possibly think that it is. That's every bit that it is. You're like, how cool and amazing would this feel? Yes, that's exactly how it felt.
That is awesome. And before the games, did you leave to prepare like a month early and have a training camp? And did you stay in the village? Can you talk about that in that journey?
Yeah, you bet. So back in those years, Captain Mark Phillips was our coach. And so we did a lot of our training in England during those years. So from the time that I did the World Equestrian Games, which was 2002, we pretty much would do some European trip and training during that time. And Sandy Phillips was our dressage coach, and she was instrumental really in McKinley hitting every personal best dressage performance that he ever had. Was those training sessions that we had leading up to that. And for 2008, we had the option, those of us that were wanting to try out for the team, you could stay in the US and do your preparation here. And then once the team was named, fly to England. Or you could, on your own dollar, go to England ahead of time. And then if you ended up being named for the team, then you'd be reimbursed for your costs. So we went to England early to try to get that preparation, that time with Mark and Sandy. And just that it really does help when you are able to focus on that goal, you know, in eventing or all equestrian, really, you're still trying to run a business. You're trying to teach other people, coach other people, train other people's horses, and having the sort of tunnel vision that you get when you're just there with that horse competing, I think really helps with the focus for getting to the Olympics. So we were in England a month ahead of time. And I brought my two children. I brought my mom along to help watch the kids. I brought a nanny, one of the girls that helped me at the barn. She came along to help my mom with the kids. So we just brought the whole kit and caboodle, you know, the whole thing, packs up and goes to England for a month to get ready and train over there. So
Can we talk a little bit? Hopefully you can hear me. You've been to Burghley, Badminton, Kentucky. What in your opinion was the toughest, or was it the Olympics?
Oh gosh. Well, mentally, the Olympics, obviously from the mental standpoint, but also the terrain at the Olympics was difficult in a way that the other terrain is not. And that is partly how we talked about earlier, that you're building courses on places where eventing doesn't exist. So the Olympic cross country was built on a golf course that was so twisty, turny, up and down. Like there was no straight galloping stretches, really the whole thing. So it's a very different feeling for the horses. You know, at Kentucky, Badminton, Burghley, you have nice long gallop stretches, and the horses are really able to settle into their stride, get their wind and their breathing and a little bit of a rest. And the Olympic course was like a slalom course the whole time. I mean, it was just nonstop. The horses never had a second to catch their breath and rest, because it was just the terrain was changing constantly, which is a really different feeling. And I think was partly why the cross country was super influential, because the time was super hard to meet. It was really hard to make the time. And that was, and I think Los Angeles is going to be similar. I think we're going to be dealing with a tight piece of land with a lot of turning and twisting, and that will be a similar type feel. The terrain at Burghley is difficult also. It's just difficult in a different way. You have a lot of elevation changes because it's very hilly ground at Burghley, more like it is at like the Maryland 5-star also has a lot of terrain. And so the terrain there is difficult. Burghley, in fact, and the year that I did Burghley, it was made even more difficult by the weather conditions. We had a lot of rain that came the beginning of the week. In fact, they were worried that they might have to cancel it. And then the sun came out and dried the ground up so that it became really sticky holding mud. So the horses couldn't get out of the mud. And that year we still had a 4.5-minute steeplechase because it was right when the Olympics was changing to short format. And so it was sort of a backlash from that. So that McKinley didn't finish Burghley that year because he literally became exhausted, physically exhausted, going up the last hill in the 2-minute mark. And a lot of other horses struggled that year, didn't finish. It was a pretty bad cross-country result because the conditions were so difficult that year.
Can you let our viewers know current format, what the length of the cross country is?
Yeah, so your Kentucky and Badminton will be around about 11 minutes, is about somewhere in there, 11 to 12 minutes is and that's at 570 meters a minute. So however many thousands of meters that is off the top of my head, but it's somewhere around 6,000 meters, right? Because 5,700 would be 10 minutes. So you're looking at 6-something thousand meters. So about 11 minutes of galloping, 11 to 12 minutes of galloping at a pretty good clip. But the Olympic course was shorter. The Olympic course was I think 8 minutes, which you'd think sounds a lot easier, but it was just as taxing doing the 8 minutes on that terrain as, 11.5 minute Kentucky.
So can you talk about how you balance your business and competing internationally? Because listening and from other people that I've spoke to, it actually sounds like a burden. I mean, how you have to take time away from your farm, your clients, and do your clients stay? Can you kind of talk about that?
It is a real struggle. And harder in America than in other countries. Other countries have a little more support system for professionals as athletes. Like England, they have lottery funding for their Olympic national athletes, as well as a much stronger sponsorship structure because they have more spectators. If there was one thing that I could wave a magic wand in this country is to work on bringing our sport to more spectators, because with more spectators comes more sponsor dollars, and that means people can actually compete as professionals, where they can focus on being a professional competitor and really dedicating their lives to making horses their top, the athletes the top priority, instead of sort of splitting their time. But the reality is we make our living still by teaching people and training people horses. And some of us love it. Like, I actually love I love the education aspect, and I love helping people with their horses and solving problems and teaching. I mean, I still teach beginners. So I love actually beginners learning, going over their first cross rail and learning to canter and that kind of thing. But, it means that our professionals are getting really burnt out. They're working super long hours and really chasing the dream, trying to make it happen and be out there and represent the United States and ride for the U.S. and represent us around the world. So it's as tough as you can imagine it is.
And what do you do to stay fresh and not get burned out? What are the things that help you?
Well, what helped me was having my kids. I feel super blessed that I started competing internationally when my son Austin was 1. And so I had kids with me the entire time I competed internationally. And I felt like that kept me grounded. I felt like that kept me one foot in what reality is, and like at the Olympics, I came home after the stressful trot out day and I gave my kids a bath, you have to remember that is, at the end of the day, the people that you have around you and the relationships you have are the most important thing, and the relationships with the animals too, and not letting, the stress of the competition or winning the competition sort of take priority over the fact that you have a relationship with this horse and a relationship with the humans around you. And those are the things that matter. And those are the things that kept me fresh, because it kept me, I think, grounded. It felt grounded in reality, at least. That's what it felt like to me.
Can we talk about how you maintain your fitness to be able to go out and do a 3-day event?
Yeah, well, when you're lucky enough to be training all these horses all day long, and you have 10 to 15 horses a day to ride, that helps a lot. But when we're talking about really being competitive at the advanced level, then you're going to be doing some extra. Mostly, we do extra core work, because for the dressage, the core is super important. So Pilates, a lot of core fitness, planks, sit-ups, crunches, that kind of stuff, as well as extra cardio, because galloping cross country requires a lot of cardio. I think people who don't gallop and jump horses underestimate how intense that cardio is. So whatever form of cardio you like to do, whether it's on a bicycle. I'm not a real runner. I don't like swimming because it's too cold. So I'll take like cycling on the bicycle, or like dance type fitness, aerobics type fitness. I was a dancer. And so anything that's like a step class or a Zumba class, or, something that's kind of a high energy, aerobic that gets then some anaerobic stuff mixed in there is.
I don't know how you have time to dance.
Well, I had to give up. I danced in a semi-professional company when I was in high school, and then
Oh,
after high school I had to choose because the dance and the rehearsals and all of that was taking so much time, and it got to the point where there wasn't time to do horses and dance, and so I chose horses, so I went with the
of,
horses. But so
of
now we just every once in a while we can go out dancing if there's a good band in town or something like that, and I'll get my dancing fix in.
Me too. So when you're looking at horses, what do you look for in quality that makes it a great event horse?
I think trainability for me, temperament and trainability, because they have to do so many different disciplines. You know, the fact that they have to be very obedient and willing in dressage, and then go out and do the cross country and be brave, and then they have to come be careful for show jumping. So they have to be pretty adaptable. You know, if they and willing to be your partner. I mean, it doesn't mean, you don't want submissive is the wrong word. It's more just trainability. Like they're willing to take the information. They have that work ethic. Some horses just don't want to try that hard, or they want to try a little bit and they don't want to keep giving you more. But some of those horses have that real desire to just keep pushing and keep trying for you. And that is super important. Obviously they're athletic, but an eventing horse, because it doesn't have to do Grand Prix level dressage, doesn't have to do Grand Prix show jumping. It's more of that crossover. Technically, the cross country jumps aren't huge. They look massive because of the way they're built, but their dimensions aren't. If you compare them to the size of a Grand Prix show jump, technically the dimensions aren't um, as big. So it's really about that all around work ethic and trainability.
I can't say that I've seen too many skinny jumps in a Grand Prix show jumping class.
Okay,
Like
that's true.
truly
Okay, that's a
eventing
good point.
skinny.
That's true. But see, so it's difficult, but the difficulty has been increased not by making it bigger. The Olympic show jumpers walked the cross country with us in 2008. We were all stabled together, and they went with us to walk the course, and then they helped us as spotters on the course. So we had people around the course to phone back in how the course was riding. And yeah, they weren't really too keen on having to go jump those skinny brushes. They weren't like, oh yeah, sign me up. I want to jump that skinny brush. so, but see, for us, we have no qualms jumping these teeny tiny skinny little brushes and corners and things that we jump. But the tight turns that the show jumpers do terrify us. We're like, what? You're coming off of that tight turn into that jump? you know, so it's just what we're comfortable with. The skinnies don't phase us, and the tight turns don't phase them.
And they don't like to get their hooves wet.
Correct. Yeah, but we know that galloping through the water and jumping in the water jump's the best part ever.
I think
That's
you're
my
all
favorite part.
I think you're all crazy and amazing, amazing athletes. Like really, it's just wild to me. How do you continue your education?
I mean, I've always loved education, and training, and so getting access to clinicians that will come through the area so that I can take lessons, and never enough. I mean, if I could have a lesson every day, I would do a lesson every day. I mean, for me, that is just, I love improving. I love getting better. I think it was Karen O'Connor that said something one time about, my goal is to be a better rider 5 years from now than I am now. And to me, that just sums it up perfectly. Like, we're always on this journey. How can we be better? How can we treat our horses better? How can we understand our horses better? How can we ride them better to make their lives easier? So Eric Duvander, we've been lucky. He moved out to California, so he's been doing clinics up at Woodside. So trying to get up there and ride with Eric. Lori Doyle, who does dressage, she helps me with McKinley, also getting ready for the Olympics. So she started coming doing clinics in our area. B. DeGrazia, she gets down here when she can, when I can get her organized to come and do a dressage clinic. So I just try to organize a clinic, and then, so I can get somebody to come in and teach me, and then round up a bunch of people to come ride with them so that I can get some lessons.
What next big goals do you have? Olympics, international? What have you set your sight?
I have set my sights to get back to the Olympics in 2028. It just it just seemed like I always, from the beginning, I just thought, Los Angeles, back and finish the career where it started, so to speak, where I discovered eventing, where so much of that began for me, and that it's coming back here to Los Angeles. It just seems like the perfect opportunity to try to get back there. So last year I started searching for a horse because I'm on a bit of a tight timeline, super tight timeline that keeps getting tighter every minute. So I do have a horse, and we're just hoping we can push him along that timeline quick enough to get there. So we're going to do our best.
Where are you what level are you guys showing at right now?
Well, he has previous experience more in show jumping, so he's new to cross country. So we're just starting out. He's just starting out low, kind of getting his feet wet. But we're hoping to get him pushed up to 2-star by this summer, so that he can really get into the throes of starting to get qualified.
Do you mind sharing a little bit more about him? Is he quirky, and if you don't want to, that's okay
No,
too.
No. So he came from Argentina. We've been buying horses there in Argentina and just finding some beautiful, talented horses. And he's small because I've been told really ever since McKinley that I should get a horse that's my size. And so he's small by standards. I mean, he's like 16'1", so he's like a perfect Gina size. He's Self-Francais, mostly Self-Francais on his dam side, and Holsteiner on the sire line. So really nice eventing breeding with a lot of thoroughbred, a lot of blood in there. But the nice warm blood movement and the nice, beautiful warm blood jump. He jumps over 1.20 meters like it's nothing. And my guy that helps me here at the barn has nicknamed him Jumping Man because he loves to just jump out of his paddock and go running around the cross country course and jumps on his own. So, but he's not particularly quirky. I mean, he doesn't love being body clipped and stuff like that. But other than that, he's generally a very sweet, kind, really a really nice character, really lovely, puppy dog kind of a personality.
So let's scroll back a little. You're coming to the Midwest.
I am.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What is your topics?
Gosh, I'd have to go back and look at my. Do you have them written there? Because I was going to say off the top of my head, I don't remember. I could probably remember some of the concepts, but I love doing the Midwest Horse Fair. I love the people. Everyone's very enthusiastic. Everybody has seemed really engaged in the clinics. I've got great demo riders. The ring crew that comes and helps sets the jumps up for me. Like everybody there is fantastic. Like I love the whole team there. And I know some of our topics, rushing is always a popular topic. So I know we're doing one of our sessions on horses that rush and how to help your horses that rush. I'm going to cough just a second.
Oh, I can help you out. It's Mystery Solved, Unlock the Magic, a distance clinic.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. So the people get really frustrated by finding distances, and how do I get a distance? I'm bad at distances, and we really have some great tips and tricks that can feel like you can master that and really conquer that feeling of that you just can't ever seem to find a good distance, or that's something that you struggle with. So I've got some great tools to get us through that. I think one of the other ones has to do with flat work, pole work, like how your flat work and your pole work are your big foundations. There's a clever title that goes with it.
It's Poles to Power, Flat Work that Builds Better Jumping Clinic.
See,
And
there we go.
that's on Friday at 5 p.m. people in pavilion number
Okay.
2. I got
And
you.
I really wanted to have something like that for people that aren't maybe jumping big jumps yet, but want to feel like they want either they want the flat work and the pole work to help, or they just really want a way to get started jumping. You know, like how do I have a horse that doesn't jump, and can I start to incorporate this and make this a fun part of my routine and build some other things into my horse's repertoire.
And then Saturday is your rushing alert clinic. And
Okay.
then the second clinic on Saturday at 2:30 is Foundations That Fly, how to start your horse over jumps. That's
Oh, see,
cool.
perfect. See, I brought another one of those in because, again, people might be curious. You know, our area, we have a lot of Western riding where I am. And so I do get a lot of kids that have done barrels or done Western, and they want to try some jumping out and see what it's like. And so I wanted to give people some tools for how to do that. You know, I've got this horse at home that I think it'd be fun to try jumping. And what do I do to get started? How do I do this?
I think that's an awesome clinic. On Sunday, you have at 9 a.m. perfect position. Find the position that power performance clinic.
There we go. So rider position's another big one, you know, form and function. It's not just about looking pretty to win in the equitation class. You know, there's a lot of a reason why we want to have a certain position, and a lot of just common threads that I see, and some great techniques for working on those. You know, what are some real common position things that we see out there, and what are some exercises that you can do to start to build the muscle memory, the muscle memory and strength to correct those things.
And then your last clinic, it's 12:30 on Sunday, a course of a course putting lines together for confident course riding clinic in Pavilion 2.
Perfect. So then that's kind of putting it all together, like what are some strategies? Now you've worked on some of these different exercises, you've got some of these great building blocks, and now how do we put those building blocks together? What that's basically what a course is. What's the strategy for keeping your focus when you're going to ride a line of 8, 10, 12 jumps in a row? How do you keep your brain organized? How do you keep those exercises pulled together so you can navigate that successfully?
When you are in a clinic situation like this, are you kind of thinking more like along the show jumping, or do you try to kind of incorporate some cross country concepts into the teaching?
Yeah, some years past I have used I've chosen a topic that was incorporating narrows and angles and skinnies and stuff like that, and done a specific topic addressing those issues. But what I find is it's so much more appealing to a general audience on these other building blocks, because those same building blocks are going to apply to that more niche area. If you can really have a good position, you can have a good rhythm, you can find a good distance. We talk about the elements to put together riding a course. A lot of mastering these skills are going to be the things that help you be successful jumping an angle, a skinny fence, a narrow, and stuff like that. So I didn't choose one of those topics for this particular time. But I have in the past, because I just think there's so many of the foundational elements we can concentrate on that will apply across the board to a lot of people.
And did you pick the demo riders?
I did. Yep. So I had applications sent in. So I got to look at videos and get a little bio, a little description, and watch some of the videos of the riders and the horses coming, and then selected as many as I could. I want as many to participate as possible so that we can have a good group and let people learn. And obviously, the people that are coming to attend the clinic, a lot of the teaching will be geared not just to helping the individual riders, but really explaining things in a way that they can have a lot of information to take home, so that if they're not coming with a horse and they're just coming to observe, that there's going to be a lot of instruction and information about how to use this information yourself at home that will apply not just to the specific horses that are in the arena that we're working with.
What do you like about these clinics? I find teaching clinics in front of a large audience hard. Like, how do you do it?
Well, the great thing about this whole international journey was lots of exposure to public speaking. So even though it was the most terrifying subject I did in college, now I feel pretty comfortable with it because I've done so much of it now over the years. And it was super intimidating at first, talking, well, you start small, right? I mean, you're young and you teach your first couple of clinics and you've got just a few parents and people watching. And I've gone through our instructor certification program. You've now got to teach in front of a examiner who's judging you, your peers you're teaching in front of, all these other people. And so you just build from there. And then you get in these larger situations where now you're teaching it to a large audience on a microphone. And I do think having some experience as a dancer, because I did used to perform on stage, so I did have some comfort level in terms of being on stage and having to do that in front of large crowds. I danced in the Sacramento Nutcracker when I was young, and so I have some of that experience. But it just practice, I've just practiced and sort of gotten more comfortable and found ways to get a lot of information and share that information with people, and have gotten more comfortable over the years. It wasn't a natural start for me, though.
What's the largest kind of event that you've had to teach at? Is horse fair pretty big, or have you taught at even bigger events?
Yeah, no, the Midwest Horse Fair is one of the bigger ones. There's one that they do out here in California, also another couple of horse fair type. Those formats, though, are for sure the largest. Just the audience size has varied from the different venues, but these horse fair type events are for sure the largest groups that I'll have teach in front at one time.
Well, I thank you so much for doing it, because to be able to have access from someone of your talent and knowledge, I mean, we're really lucky that you come to the Wisconsin. I mean, and just share the fact that you teach everyone is pretty special in my opinion. So I'm gonna take a little side tour. And what is the weirdest thing or funniest thing that's ever happened to you at a competition?
At a competition. Well, I would say it would be back when I'm McKinley was this whole, have to get mounted on him in the stall thing. And my trainer convinced me that I didn't need to do that. He's like, no, you're fine. You can get on at the arena, because you'd go walk your course, right? So you'd have your horse at the arena, you'd get off, you'd walk your course and get back on. And I told him, there's no way I can't do that. Like, I have to go back all the way to the barns. No, you're fine. You can do that. So sure enough, I went to put a foot on the stirrup, and McKinley got bolted and got away and did extended trot, across the Galway Downs showgrounds, around the entire property, extended trot. And there I am, horseless. So that's pretty memorable. I don't know. I'm not sure there's much that tops that. That was very silly.
Was
But
there a soccer tournament going on at the same time too?
it was before. I think it was before they were doing soccer there. So
Okay.
luckily there was no soccer there yet. But yeah, that was fun.
Okay, I got another one. Well, maybe it's the same answer. What is the weirdest horse habit you've ever had to deal with? Maybe second.
Horse habit. Oh gosh. Aren't they all odd? Like, isn't every single thing these horses do odd? I think you just become immune to it. Like, this particular horse is odd, and you just become, I mean, McKinley was really terrified of needles, absolutely terrified of needles. I don't know that I've ever come across another horse that was so panicked about getting a needle. Even intramuscular. I mean, some horses don't like IV shots, but even intramuscular, even an acupuncture needle, this horse found to be the most terrifying thing on the planet. I mean, I don't think I've ever come across a horse that was that terrified of a needle. I mean, it doesn't hurt that much. Stick a needle in yourself. It doesn't hurt.
I had one of those.
Terribly needle phobic.
I had one of those.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Not super fun.
Uh-oh, we lost her.
Ah,
Are you back?
hi, where'd I go? There I am.
There you are. I was so worried.
Sorry.
I had another great question.
Okay, what's the next great question?
Okay, if you could ride any horse in history, it could have passed away already. What horse would you choose and why?
Oh my goodness. See, then there's going to be another long, long list. One that's the first one that jumps to my mind is Theodore O'Connor. He was on my team. Karen and I rode together at the Pan American Games in 2007 together. And it was like Mutt and Jeff, right? She was on Teddy at 14.2 and I was on McKinley at 17.3. And the way she described riding him around Kentucky, doing the 5-star at Kentucky. And when anyone tries to tell me that a horse is too small to do a job, it doesn't apply. If you're on a horse that is scopy and powerful, you'll tackle that Kentucky course. And so I know the way that Karen would light up when she would talk about riding that horse, I know that had to be an incredible feeling to ride that horse.
Any others from like when you were a horse crazy young girl?
All of them, every single one. Mark Todd won back-to-back Olympics on charisma. So, who wouldn't want to take, a spin on charisma, or Ginny Lang's Priceless, Jimmy Wofford's The Optimist, gosh, some of those great horses from back in the day. I know one, because I've always been obsessed with pinto horses. So Torrance Watkins rode a horse called Poltroon. None of the young people listening to this will remember any of these horses, but Poltroon was a small pinto mare that she rode at the top level. So that would have been a really fun one.
Okay, I got another fun question. What is your favorite post-show food or guilty pleasure?
Last night after the show, it was sushi. So came home and had sushi. I love creme brulee, so I've got creme brulee in my freezer. So sometimes I'll treat myself to some little creme brulee. But yeah, last night our special treat was sushi.
I love sushi, and being in Wisconsin, do not get the sushi when you come to Wisconsin.
Okay. Don't do it. Don't do it.
But if you do have a hankering, because it's way better in California, I can take you to Brooklyn, and there is a restaurant there that is halfway decent. So
okay.
But otherwise,
stay away. Stay away. How about creme brulee? Is there good creme brulee there? Can I get my creme brulee fix in?
Yes, in Stoughton, there is a fabulous restaurant there. I can take you. So
perfect.
You just text me. I'll take you there.
Okay, great. We can get our little creme brulee fix in.
I can do that. And then if you could give one piece of advice to every rider watching tonight, what would it be?
I would say that education. There are so many places you can get education, especially now. I mean, when I grew up, we only had magazines, and books and clinics, but there's so much good content. There's so many good clinics, and just to go and watch, and watch other people teach and learn from other people, especially if you don't have a lot of money and a lot of budget. Going and watching other people's lessons and other people's clinics and auditing everything that you can. I mean, obviously, people that are respected and have good reputations, but there's a lot of free education out there. And the more you can immerse yourself in that free education will help you immensely down the road.
Yeah, even just going and paying the audit.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, auditing is an inexpensive way to, to have access to the whole day. A lot of that clinician's expertise with the different groups and the different people, it is definitely worth the price to go and audit and learn a lot. And ride all kinds of different horses. That's another thing where my education really grew was I would ride what anybody would let me ride, whether it wasn't, considered, nothing was beneath me, put it that way. I would ride whatever had four legs and a tail, I would ride it. And you learn so much from all those different horses, even not necessarily the most talented ones, but from every different type of horse, you're going to learn just a huge amount.
I still want to ride every horse.
Yeah. I mostly do. Every once in a while I'll get on one, and that one maybe isn't the most fun, but I pretty much will still ride. I still, I'll still be riding around my arena jumping a horse and just think we're just so lucky. We're so lucky to be riding this animal, this horse, jumping this horse, riding this horse. We're blessed. We're blessed. We're lucky. And I feel super, super lucky every day that I get to do that.
I couldn't agree more. I'm really looking forward to going to horse fair. I get to ride my two horses at horse fair, and they just pump themselves up and they're super excited. And I'm super excited to see you at horse fair. Just want to give a shout out and let everybody know she's going to be at horse fair. Go and see her. She's going to be coaching us twice a day. And you'll probably be around horse fair. So maybe you guys can see her, ask questions. I think it's amazing that you're coming to the Midwest. Thank you. And thank you for your time tonight. This has just been wonderful to hear and talk to you. And what an amazing journey.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love meeting new people. I love sharing my experiences. And, if I can help one person with some bit of advice or some way along their own journey, that's what's really special to me.
And if anyone's interested in taking a lesson, hiring you for a clinic, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Text message or email. I'm not very good about listening to my voicemails. My voicemail even says, "Don't leave me a message. Just send me a text message." I leave it full a lot of times on purpose. But so a text message or an email, is great. So probably start with an email, and then I can forward on my phone number, and then that's a great way to get a hold of me.
That's great. We thank you so much. We're going to let you go because we know you've got lessons to teach, and we really appreciate you giving us an hour. We really do.
Yeah, it was super fun. Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to seeing you. It's less than 2 months. It's a month and a half away. We're really looking forward to seeing you.
Yay,
Middle of
before
April.
we know it. Before we know it.
Prepare for all season. You never know.
Okay, I will. I'll because it's like spring here now. So
well, Megan knows the horse fair. It can be warm one day and snowing the next.
Got it. Okay, I'll bring it.
Prepare for all events.
I'll bring it all. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe on the way out. And thank you, Gina, so much.
Okay,
bye, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.